Welcome to Between the Poles, the podcast where we dive deep into the heart of the pole community. I'm your host, Caroline. Here, it's not just about the tricks and the spins. It's about the stories, the people, and the connections that make this community so special. Every episode, we sit down with pole artists, studio owners, and inspiring voices to explore their journeys, challenges, and passions. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's get real. This is Between the Poles. If you enjoy this podcast episode, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and YouTube, where we share behind-the-scenes contents, bonus clips, and more from each episode. Hi, Michelle. Welcome to Between the Poles. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. I'm really pumped to talk to you because I feel there's just a lot going on, and I want to be able to touch up on a little bit of everything. If you've listened to any episode, I start the show the same way for everybody. Could you tell us a little bit not a little bit, tell us all the juicy details about how you started pole, how many years have you done it, kind of just your pole journey to bring us to now a little bit.
Yeah. So I started pole in 2006 or 2007. I'm actually not sure. It's very blurry, those years. I did call the gym that I started at not that long ago to see if they had the first time I checked into the gym and they lost their records. They had me checking in 2015. I was like, okay, that's not accurate because I really wanted to know. I was like, when did I start? Because I have pictures from 2007, 2008. I'm like, I just don't know when exactly I started. So let's just say 2006, sometime then. So it's been almost 20 years. It's 18, 19 years ago, which is insane to me. But I started at Crunch Gym in New York on 14th Street just for fun. I had danced my whole life, and one of my coworkers at my real job, Kelly, shout out to Kelly McLaughlin, asked me one day, she's like, do you want to go take this dance class after work? It's pole dancing. I was like, okay, sure. We would always just go take random dance classes. So I was like, yeah, pole dancing, let's do it. So I went and I was like, I'm a dancer. I'm going to be great at this. This is going to be my thing. I'm going to be good. It's at a gym. I'm going to be good at this. And I was so not. I was so bad. It was so humbling. I was a slippery, slidey mess. Could not do a spin, did not understand the grip, the strength. I had none of it. Didn't know about dry hands then yet either. That would have been helpful. But I just couldn't do anything. But I could do the splits and kick my leg and toss my hair around and just dance to the music. So that's all I needed. You know what I mean? I was hooked. And that was the beginning. That was truly the beginning. It was just a gym class. It was 1 hour. It was sweaty. It was hot. It was crowded, but it was so fun. The music, the vibes, the people, my friends, the friend group got bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was just something to look forward to every, Friday night after work. We'd go to the gym. We'd take spinning class and then we'd take pole dancing, or we'd lift weights and then we'd take pole dancing. And it just kind of grew from there.
Okay. I always want more detail. I like that guess, oh, I started 20 years ago and here's me today. And I'm like, oh, no. We gotta go way deeper into this. Okay. First question. You said you were a dancer. What kind of dance background did you have? And you also said oh, we would either go and do spin or we would weight train. Were you already on the fit side of things?
So I grew up dancing my whole life. I think my mom put me in, ballet, tap, and jazz when I was, 5 or 6, and I hated it at first, which is funny. And then I got back into it maybe 8, 9, 10, 10, 11, 12 was when I was like, okay, dance is my life now. I'm a dancer. I'm a ballerina. I did the Nutcracker. I did, the spring ballet. I just was in class all the time. Dance was life. And I danced all through, elementary school, middle school, high school. Somewhere in high school, the director of my ballet company in a small town in Pennsylvania, but it was the best available, retired and got replaced by these people that just made me very unhappy. that's a whole other story. Like she just kind of like fat shamed me a lot, and it was bad. You know what I mean? I was like 17 years old. I was still trying to live my life, and it just like I would come home in tears every day, and my mom would pick me up and she'd be like, "You used to be so happy going and coming from dance class. Something is different, something has changed. What's going on?" And I just hated it. I just like because of these people, I just was like, it's not fun for me anymore. So I stopped doing ballet and I started doing more contemporary. And so I would go to Philadelphia. I would come to New York to take classes because there wasn't that much like good contemporary in my hometown. Um, so I would travel and take classes and then performed a little bit here and there when I could. And then when I went to college, I think I took ballet my first semester and I was like, yep, I'm done. I'm kind of done with ballet. I'm very grateful for that foundation drilled hard into me to this day. Very grateful for it. Um, but as like an art form, I was kind of over it. So I just did more contemporary in college and then moved to New York after college, danced a little bit, like took classes. My friend had a company and I danced in her company a little bit. It was like contemporary stuff. And then I didn't really do much of anything until pole dancing came around. I was just kind of like dabbling in dance and I was studying art history, getting my master's degree, and did that. And then pole dancing came about and I was like, I'm back. I'm back. Like this is where I belong. I am a dancer. Pole dancing is like everything in my life like led to this point in like such a perfect way. Um so dancing my whole life through like ballet, contemporary, and then pole dancing, which kind of just brought it all together in a beautiful sexy way. But I was always, I don't know if I was fit. Like it's funny, like now I'm like in my mid 40s, I feel like I'm more fit than I was in my 20s. You know what I mean? Just my knowledge, my nutrition, my working out. I mean, I'm definitely more fit than I was back then, but I always worked out. Even in high school, I'd go to the YMCA with my dad and, like ride the bicycle and lift weights. We always had to do Pilates in dance, like as a supplemental class. So I feel like I always was in the fitness movement world. But I was definitely not as smart about it as I am now, if that makes sense.
It actually really does. Because I tried to tell this to students, because I own a pole studio. And they're like, oh, I don't even know where to start, Tahoe. Like, I'm like, okay, hold on. You don't need to like know everything when you start. I was like, pole really did change my life because I was on the unfit category for all my 20s, basically. I say all my 20s, a good chunk of it. And I didn't know anything about nutrition,
Yeah.
anything like that. And then I started going to pole. And then it kind of all slowly trickled down because then I slowly like really fell in love with the sport. And then I was like, okay, I want to be able to do crazy shit. So if I want to do crazy shit, I have to feel better in my own body. Like I have to be able to hold more body weight for what I was aspiring to do, right? Because we don't all have the same goal, and that's fine too. But I wanted to do very intense tricks upside down, and I was like, at the weight I was, that just wasn't realistic.
Right.
So then I was like, okay, well, how do I go about this? And I loved kind of the talk there is about nutrition in most pole studio. No one ever told me just lose weight. They were like, are you hydrating enough to like give yourself a break? Are you feeding yourself enough food that your body is fueled? Are you eating enough protein that you're building muscle mass? So no one ever told me like lose weight. But then when I started having like those things, then I was like feeling stronger and I got a new move. And when I got a new move, I'm like, I gotta keep going because
Yeah.
maybe I can get another one. And so I know what you mean with like you are in a fit space and then kind of everything slowly kind of builds on each other.
Yeah.
I also really want to know, okay, so you started 20 years ago. Clearly, there's like something that happened in those 20 years. Can you, in like as many details as you want, tell us from that first class you took, you compete, you like have a huge following on social media. Like those things just didn't happen in one day, right? Can you tell us a little bit? Okay, like I started pole. How did like what was those milestone along that journey?
Yeah. So when I started pole, I was working a full-time job and doing pole on, after work, on the weekends, whatever, for funsies. Then I think a big milestone was when I got laid off in like the crash of 2009. I got laid off and I was like, well, shit. Like this was my job and my money and everything. So I scrambled. I tried to find another job. The economy was terrible. No one was hiring. I did like little things here and there, but I couldn't get a job. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to chill for a second. I'm going to stop, like just calm down, collect my unemployment, gather my brain together. And just take more pole dancing classes, and I started teaching. So I started teaching a little bit here and I was like, okay, maybe I can start teaching more classes at different studios and like make a little bit more money and train more. But just kind of relax into life for a minute, like instead of like college, grad school, job, go, and he was like, let me just relax.
And you started teaching, you said around 2009. So at
Yes.
this point, you're 2 or 3 years in
Yes,
about.
exactly. So I started teaching more classes, so I could make a little extra money, and that just brought me into the studio more. I was teaching more, I was learning more, I was taking more classes, so I could learn more things, and it just got me in the studio, in the pole studio, a lot, like almost every single day. Just kind of like took over my life. I had nothing else to do. I had no job except for doing this. And then I was like, I think I'm kind of getting good at this, and like that sort of self-awareness was really hard for me in the beginning. And I'll talk about that in a second too. But like, really, like, owning my awesomeness was hard, but I was like, I think I'm good at this. Like, I think I have something. Like, I'm not sure. And I'm like, I watched a lot of YouTube videos and I always felt imposter syndrome, like not good enough, not sexy enough, not strong enough, not sassy enough, whatever. But I was like, I think I could do something. So I entered my first competition in 2010. It was called Polesque. It was a local competition in Brooklyn. Um, which was kind of like burlesque and pole. It was one pole, one giant static 50 millimeter pole in the middle of the stage, no spinning, nothing. And we had to have like an act, So I did this like gender bender act that I still really love to Leonard Cohen's I'm Your Man. And it was kind of like dark, kind of sexy, yes, and like creepy, but kind of funny. And I took off my clothes, and it's just like, oh, it felt so good. Um, and I won that competition. So we had an act and then we had a dance off. So the top four had to do like a dance off at the end and like a couple rounds of it for like, 30 or 60 seconds each. And I don't know. That was the first time I won a competition, and who knew? You know what I mean? It really was just for fun. It was not a national thing.
How
What?
how happy were you that you had a dance background when the dance off comes on and you're like, I've got stuff I can actually do?
You know what it was though? I just had this conversation a couple weeks ago. When you're in a competition, there's a dance off coming. You have to save some of your best moves. You can't do them all at once because then if you make it to like round two of the dance off, like what are you going to do? The same thing? Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Okay, I love
Gotta
that
save
you're
them.
saying this because I feel like some people, pole is fun and games. I love that for all of us. But when you're at a certain point, you gotta be like, you have to have a game plan, right? I love what you just said because you're like, no, no, I gotta save some move. You don't want to finish on a low of like you're wiped, you have nothing else. Because then the judge and the audience are like, oh, actually, she's not that good now that I'm
Exactly.
thinking on it. No, no, you have to finish with a bang.
You
You
do.
have to leave an impression.
Yes,
You have to start with a bang. You have to finish with it. Like,
exactly.
you can't just. So I love that you say that because I feel a lot of my students, when they're building like their showcase piece or whatever, they like do all the hardest tricks like right up, and I'm like, okay, but the last minute is just you of like
Tired.
slinking around, which is beautiful, but like give the audience one last like, oh my god, she was so good,
Yes.
like really pump it
That's
up.
such good advice. Everybody listen to that, write that down. That's such good advice. The opening and the closing, those bookends are like the first impression and the last impression. Yes. Like you have to have
I
a
have a
plan.
question for you, Michelle, because you said it was like a 50 mil. And then I'll just kind of say this for people that are like beginners in pole, or maybe you don't even pole and you just like listening to me yab. In pole, there is different sizes of pole. And it's just a little bit of like a couple millimeters more here and there. They really make a difference when you're used to, let's say, 45. So there's like typically there's 40, 45. I've never been pulled on a 50. I've tried 40 and 50, 45. You got there, it's 50. How does it feel? How does it go?
Well, I have a funnier story for you. I was used to 50s though. Like I feel like this is a 50. Like my water bottle is like a 50. You know what I mean? Like it's fat. It is a fat pole. But
Do
that's
you
all we
not
had.
feel the grip?
I didn't
Like
know
it's
anything else. I didn't know anything else at all. Like that's all we had in the studios in the gym, only 50s. That's it. So it
okay
felt
for
normal to
people
me.
that So for people that don't know nowadays, like pole is way more like streamlined a little bit nowadays. Most studio have 45 millimeter chrome. That's kind of what you'll see most, and I that's what we call competition standard.
Totally.
Okay, so your home studio had 50s.
Yes. They still
Oh,
do.
okay.
They
So at
still
least you can grow
have
you.
like there's at Body and Pole in New York, there's 5 studios in Body and Pole. And out of all the studios, I think there's still 2 or 3 50 millimeters and everybody hates them. Like no one wants to use them.
Yeah.
They're like the devil pole. I don't know why we still have them, but that's all I was used to. So it didn't make a difference to me, but I will tell you this. In I think it was 2012, 2013, I don't know. I did a gig in Dubai. My best friend, who's like my son's godmother, was living in Dubai and she helped produce this humongous fashion show event for fashion show in Dubai. And they built an entire stage for the fashion show and the after party. And me and Rebecca Starr flew out there to do a pole dancing gig. And it was amazing. I've never felt more like Beyonce in my life. Like people were like losing their minds. But something got lost in translation when they were building the stage with the poles. They built everything from scratch. These weren't like poles that they ordered. They built the poles. The poles, I'm not kidding you, I will send you a picture, were probably 60 millimeters. This is a nightmare that I have. I still have this nightmare that I show up to like teach a workshop or a performance and I'm trying to dance on like a Greek column. It's a nightmare. And it came true and it happens. We were like, what do we do? And we had to wear pants because it was Dubai and you couldn't show legs or butt or like half of your rib cage. It was like a lot of elements happening. They were sticky pants, but we had to these giant poles, so we had to immediately just like go back to the drawing board and re-choreograph our piece because we couldn't do one-handed spins. We
Was gonna
couldn't
say like the hand grip on that, like
nothing.
it's just too
We
much.
couldn't
Like that's
do
way too
we could do
stiff.
like a two-handed body spiral like this, but even like just regular spins, you just couldn't do it. Um, but everything else was fine. You know what I mean? We adjusted the choreography. We could do the sits, we could do the jade, we could do the leg hangs, we could do Aisha, we could do like things like that. But like handspring was really hard. So we just had to
How do you do Aisha?
that
Because
was
that's what
actually
I'm
not
thinking.
bad.
Oh.
The elbow and then
And you're
just like
just in a like, huge wide grip. Oh, you do the
elbow,
elbow one?
elbow. Yes. An elbow grip Aisha
Okay.
was fine.
Because I go double true like most often or twist,
That would have been
but I'm like,
impossible. I think it would have
yeah, my
actually been
fingers would have been
impossible
like,
to do a twisted grip around that pole that was so fat. I just don't think you could do it.
I was gonna say your wrist, there's no way.
No. So we had to make some adjustments, but it didn't matter what we did anyway. You know what I mean? Like people just lost their minds and it was really fun. But that did happen when I showed up to a stage and the pole was like gigantic. And I was like, whoa. But then I had the opposite thing happen when I performed in Australia for the first time on a 38 millimeter pole. And I was like, that felt like this, like
And
tiny.
the skinniest I've ever done is 40.
Yeah,
And
38.
I'm a tall person, so I have long hands. 45 is what I want. On 40, I felt like my nails were like pressing in the palm of my hand. So 38, I'd also be like, am I holding on to a
So
pencil?
different.
Like, what is going on?
So it makes everything so different. Some things so easy, some things so hard. It was interesting. So, but then it's like you're on the spot. You got to do what you got to do. Like
Yeah.
make it work. But that was shocking. That was more shocking, I think, than like a fat pole, a skinny pole. I was like, what do I do?
So at that point, you're kind of like 10-year-ish into your, that was one of your performance. When was your first competition?
2010, pole-esque.
Oh, yeah, true. So 4, 5, and then how did you go after that? Like,
So
how did that
then
keep going?
what happened was, I think the next one I did was at the time USPDF was for us at least like the biggest competition out there available. It's not like it is today with like pole theater and PSO and all this stuff. Like there wasn't that many competitions. So it was like you got to get into the one and you got to make it count. So the first one I had to do was the amateur USPDF amateur competition in 2011, and I won that one, which was awesome. And then I did another competition shortly after that called Pole Dance Universe, which is one of those random competitions that doesn't exist anymore. But that was really fun. That was in Denver, and I won that one too. And I was kind of like on a roll. You know what I mean? Like I had done like 3 competitions, I had won 3 in a row, and I was like, okay, let's keep this going. And then the next thing I did was pole art. Wait, I think I did I did pole art in 2011 also, and I think I placed like 4th, which was fine for me because I was competing against like Anastasia Shuktorova and Una Kivela and like these people that I was just like, oh my God, you know? So I'm just happy that I did it. And I was proud of my performance, but I learned a lot. I learned a lot from placing 4th in that competition. And then I did USPDF Pro. Well, after that, I did pole art again, but I didn't compete. I just did a showcase, which was wonderful. And then I did USPDF Pro in 2012, and that was the like tiger, leopard in a cage piece that was sort of my most memorable piece, the one that people talk about to this day. And I'm like, God, I'm so glad that piece like aged well, you know? Um, and then life turned, you know what I mean? Life just went in a whole other direction. You know, I was like, okay, from then on, I was like a professional pole dancer. You know, like that was my career, that was my job, that was my life. I was getting booked, you know, all over the world to judge competitions and perform and to teach workshops and kind of just like, you know, back then like we were all just kind of carving our own way forward in this new world, this new industry, as professional pole dancers. Like who knew? Um
Ask you a question, Michelle.
mhm.
Because you've been in the game for so long, and you said like at that point I was a pro, that was my livelihood, basically. I feel a lot of, I don't want to say baby polar, but like people that are more starting out into trying to make this their livelihood. Do you have any like tips, tricks? I feel like we don't really talk like money or finance in the poll at all, but a lot of people aspire to be able to live off of their art. Do you feel like there's a couple of tips or any advice you would give for people that want to start touring and giving workshop, or
Mhm.
things to be careful when you get booked, or like standards you should put out there for yourself? Or do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, do you have any
It is
tips,
not
advice?
easy. You know what I mean? And I'm not pursuing that life anymore, you know? Um, I think the environment is also different than it was, you know, 10, 15 years ago. Financially, globally, you know, and it's just it's different now. Um, so I don't even know if it's a viable job anymore. I honestly don't, you know? And you know what's funny is that the pole people that are still getting booked globally today are the people that were getting booked 10, 15 years ago. Do you find that too? You know?
Do I feel there's a couple of like staple names
Yes.
that like were there way back when and that are still there? And I'm like, good for you, because I feel like if you're listening to this and it's one of you and you're like, anyways, then you were able to build yourself to a certain place and maintain that, which I feel like pole is such a hard sport for the body. I kind of feel like a lot of people kind of go like hit a
Yeah,
peak, do really well for a couple of years, and then let's call it retire completely out of it.
totally.
because it is so intense on the body. But then I do like seeing people that are able to, I would say you, Michelle, you've been in the game 20 years. Like that's impressive, right? So I do like to see that you could be smart about it and build it and position yourself in a way
Yeah.
to like keep on going.
Yes, and I think I've had to reinvent a few times, like back,
Mm-hmm.
10, 15 years ago, my workshops were tricks, and that's what people wanted from me. They wanted to learn like this, and this. They would watch my videos and be like, "Come to my studio and teach me these 5 things." I'm like, "Done. Let's do it." I don't the tricks I was teaching back then are like easy now. You know what I mean? For like advanced polars. It's like it's just a different world. So now I'm just sort of reinventing my offerings into subject matter that is easier for my body, but also still really, 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 really relevant and important. And I think what comes from experience and age and working is wisdom. So much wisdom. Like looking back on things I would have done differently 20 years ago, things I wish I had 20 years ago, things I've learned along the way that aren't necessarily destructive for my joints, but still really, really, really helpful for the pole industry as a whole. That's what I'm sort of moving into now. And thankfully, it's something that's still people want, you know? But it's also what I want to do. And I just can't force myself to do that's where the up and coming people, you up and comers, you baby polars, that's you now. You know what I mean? Like work really hard, like work hard, put yourself out there constantly, 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 constantly. Enter the competitions, do the performances, get the photo shoots, book the video shoots, get your Instagram following up. Like put your stuff out there and get hired so people around the world can learn the hard, difficult, badass tricks that you can do and that people like me can't do anymore, And like you teach that and we will teach the other stuff. I'm saying we, but I mean I. I don't know what everyone else is doing out there. But does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like there is room for everybody. But you have to work hard. You have to be excellent. Excellent. You and the students of the world deserve nothing less than excellence. And I mean that in technique and teaching ability, um, personality, kindness, like you don't make it far if you're a shitty person. No one's going to book you again. You know what I mean? And I think that's why a lot of the people that are booked 15 years ago are still booked today is because they're good people. They're good teachers, they're good people. And people want them back. You know what I mean? So it's like excellence. I hate mediocrity in every possible way. If you're going to do something, you do it really, 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 really well. And that is not just execution of tricks. It's how do you teach them? How do you support people? How do you make them feel awesome about themselves and safe and loved and happy? In addition, to teaching the tricks. My other tip out there, and this is like really helpful if you are going on tour or doing anything in the pole industry, anything at all where you're interacting with other people, studio owners, bring thank you notes with you. Go buy some thank you notes, cute ones, whatever you are, design your own, put them in your bag, and always leave a heartfelt thank you note to the organizer of the competition, the person who hosted you in their house, the person who picked you up at the airport, whatever. Like, bring thank you notes or like pack little gifts in your bag that you can just like leave out there in the world. And like, I feel like those little things go a long way.
Tell you a story, Michelle, and for our listeners and our viewers. So I am by no means a great polar. I love owning a pole studio, but I'm not like I will never tour. Like I'm not that good, right? I don't compete, anything like that. So I book people to come to my studio to teach those amazing things. We've had amazing guests and everybody was really, really good. I booked the same guest 2 years in a row. Her name's Tiffany
I
Rose.
love
And she,
Tiffany.
yes, she was way back then and still to this day. When she left last year, she gave me a thank you note and it was beautiful. It was a picture of herself polling, thank you so much, with a hand, with a quick handwritten message in the back. And she left me a beautiful little candle and it was personalized. So on top, it was like, thank you for hosting me, Tiffany Rose. And I open it and it's a like a candle made like in a rose shape.
That's perfect.
And I was like, love that. Remember this.
Yes.
Like, and she'll be back to my studio in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Because I was like, that was great. I will also say this for anybody thinking about touring or anything like that. As a studio owner, I really enjoy the guests that like, here's my contract. Here are some media to use on social media. So I don't have to chase you down to try to be like, hey, I need to advertise. They just send it right away. They're punctual, reply to like emails. And I'm not saying live by your phone and reply to me within the first half an hour, but like when I have to send you 3 emails, like, hey, just checking in, can you give me availability? Or like,
Yeah.
those are the guests that I end up actually booking. Because if I'm having just a really hard time communicating with you, being able to book you, then I'm now anxious that this is going to fall through between me booking you and you being here, or you being here being late, being like not the best like sport about. So like those are little tips as the
Yes.
people standing on the other side as like the studio owner and the student. Like I want kind of that out of guests. So I guess that's something I would say.
Totally.
And as I'm being like now I'm almost on 2 years of owning the studio, so those kind of little things stick out to me a little more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what I wanted to ask you because now we're like talking a little bit about like touring and workshops and stuff. When did you start offering workshops and how did you decide to start offering workshops? And do you remember what your first workshop, what were those offerings?
Oh my God, this was so long ago. Um, I think after, oh man, well, even before I won USPDF 2012, I was traveling a little bit and doing expert certifications, pole teacher, because they that developed here in New York at 14th Street, well, 59th Street Crunch, through Crunch and X-Pole. So like I was part of the origination of expert. And so that kind of took me on the road. You know what I mean? Like just doing the certifications. And then if I was like doing a certification at a studio, like maybe I'd stay and do a day of workshops of whatever that is, but it wasn't really that like refined yet. I think after USPDF 2012 was also when that was kind of like the beginning, it felt like, of like people going on tour for pole, like Alethea, Janine, Natasha, all, you know, like my predecessors were doing it. So it kind of like followed in their footsteps. But I also had a manager. It was called Poles on Tour. And I think they had like, I don't know, 5 or 6 of us that were on their roster. And they were a touring management company for pole dancers. And it was amazing, you know? And so they brought me on as one of their artists to go on tour. And I didn't have to do anything, you know? I just had to create the workshops that I wanted to teach, and then they would do all the legwork. And it was brilliant, you know? It was awesome. And now I think they still exist, but they're on a different name, but I'm not sure. Um, like, do you use a touring company or do you just go directly through individuals?
I guess it depends.
Yeah.
Usually, to be honest, I try to reach out to people that I really enjoy following and I feel like would do well with my students, the level of my studio.
Yeah.
Usually I will like shoot them a DM and then they'll either be like, yeah, here's my email, just email me, I'll send you the info you need. Or they'll be like, hey, reach out to my management company.
Right.
This is it. Because not everybody has the same. I'm getting better. Like I'm a baby pole owner studio, right? I'm getting to the 2 year mark. So now I've done like business with both. I'm not sure if I have a preference, to be honest. And now I'm starting to get that usually a management company or a manager will have multiple artists. And then if you get in because that's the other side of the middle. I said like, oh, like I will book people that I feel are like professional and give me a good vibe. The same goes the other way. If you're a shitty old studio owner and like the guests come, they don't feel safe, the requirements aren't met, and stuff like that. So how I've been doing it now, I feel like a couple of people I had, guests that came, put in a good word for me.
Yeah.
So now that also opens up my options
Yes.
because they're like, oh yeah, the studio was clean,
Yes.
the times were respected, the
Yeah.
contract was well established, somebody picked me up from the airport,
Yeah.
like I felt safe, like right? Because it does go
Yes.
back like both sides.
Yes.
Can I ask you a question, Michelle?
Uh-huh.
And I'm going wild. I never put people on the spot and like give us tea.
Boy.
Could you give us tea without give us a don't give us names or anything like that? Like we're not that podcast. I'm sorry for the viewers and listeners. If you wanted the like hot tea, it's not going to be today. Have you ever gone to teach a workshop and you're like, oh my God, this is not it?
Yeah.
Did you ever like, yeah, can you tell us a little bit about it? What made it that you're like, this is not gonna, like, I'm not gonna redo this?
Yeah. So there's two experiences that are, you remember them, because they were so bad. The first one was, I'll just say, in Northern Europe in November, not a warm month. And I went to the studio, and it was part of my tour, and the studio was horrible. It was like on the second floor of a warehouse with like window, just like no heat, like maybe a space heater here or there, freezing cold, cement floors, freezing cold air, windows that were just like barely working to keep the cold air out. I think there was like two or three poles that went from floor to ceiling, and then like two or three stage poles, which is like, oh my God, it was just like they threw it together. And then like one mirror, like one little mirror. And it was just the awful conditions. And I was like, I don't even, how am I supposed to do this? Like, I was like, okay, warm up is going to be real good. You know what I mean? Like, I'm pulling out my best moves for warm up to like wear all of your clothing, literally wear all of your layers of clothing, and we're going to warm up so good. But the second you get on the pole and you have to take your clothes off, it was just like, zoop, zoop, like no grip, no heat, all danger, no way to stay on the pole. It was so bad. And I actually, one workshop, I ended early because I was like, no one is no one's having a good time. You know what I mean? Like I tried all my best moves, like everything that we could do with our clothes on, like the flows and but it's like we got to get to the tricks, and it just nobody could do anything. And it's not my fault, you know what I mean? And like we were all trying together, but we were all kind of in the same place of like, this is very bad, So I was like, I don't mind like ending early. You know what I mean? And like, let's just talk for like the last 10 or 15 minutes. And I don't mind giving you money back. You know what I mean? Like, because this is just not going to work. And everyone was okay with that, but it was awful. It was the worst studio experience. I was like, I don't even think I could call it a studio. Like, it just was like terrible, terrible.
Okay, I want to unpack that a little bit. Because one, I feel like good for you for being like, we're gonna call it a day here. I don't feel comfortable like pushing because people could get injured. And for people that don't know, maybe you're not like super aware of these things. When your pole is freezing, you have no grip. You're gonna slip and slide all over the
Yes. And it
place
was
trying to
happening.
do.
Everyone was slipping and sliding. And I was like, shit, this is not good.
But I
And
feel
it was
like
a cement
somebody,
floor. You know what I mean? This is
yeah.
bad.
But I also feel like somebody maybe with less experience teaching, or maybe somebody who's just starting to tour would have felt the pressure to keep on going. So good for you for being like, I'm calling it. And then I have a second question for you. You're like, I wouldn't mind giving people money back because I can't. But I'm like, is it up to you to give people money back? Or is it the people that booked you that made you in an environment that's not good for
Yeah.
you to teach? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because I feel contracts now for pole dancers, as more and more people do it, I feel like it's getting a little bit better.
Yeah. A
What
lot
would you
better.
say to somebody who's starting to tour, starting to teach workshop, and is put in a situation a little bit like yours where like it is not a great space to be teaching at or things aren't like great, what would you tell those people?
I think that's just like that is why it's really helpful to have a manager so you don't have to have the money conversation, you know what I mean? They can do it for you and just deal with it. You know what I mean? But if you it's a conversation, you know what I mean? Like because like I'd lose out on money if the studio is making a little bit of money, they're going to lose out on money too, but it's just like an awkward, painful conversation you kind of have to have with the studio owner. And I remember having it because she was there watching. I was like, "Do you mind if we end early and we could prorate it and like whatever like that 15-minute is, like just give them their money back." Nobody asked for it. FYI. You know what I mean? Like nobody asked for their money back. But I'm also very much like it's expensive to take a pole workshop. You know what I mean? Like it costs a lot of money. And so if even if it's just a regular class, if you're paying me money and also your time, which you can never get back. You can make money, you could get your money back, but you can never get your time back. If you are taking time out of your life and giving it to me, I will go above and beyond. I will over deliver. I just hate not doing that, you know? So like I felt very like responsible. You know what I mean? Like in that situation, I was like, I'm not delivering. I'm not delivering. And it's not my fault. I'm really trying, but I'm not delivering. And you paid for this experience. And I felt like I just had to do something. You know what I mean? I don't know if that answers your question at all.
It does. And then it kind of brings me to another answer because, like I said, like for me, when I have a good experience, then I'm more willing to book those guests a second time, or I will even, because I live in Canada, so there's a lot of studios that like are far in between. So it's not competition if you come here and then you come to this like city that's 4 hours away. Like that's fine. But I will most of the time the owners kind of chit chat in the background, and I'll be like, you know what, that was great. I would highly recommend. Or I'll be like, that wasn't super, super.
Yep.
Does this same go the other way
Yes.
around? People ask you, like, hey, I saw that you went to that place to teach
Yeah.
workshop. How was it?
All the time. You have to. Like we have to look out for each other. And at one point there was a private Facebook group and like spreadsheets that like all the people that were on tour would like rate the studios. And also like if they had a bad experience, hop on the page and be like, this studio was terrible, don't go there. This is what happened. And then somebody else could chime in and be like, I had the opposite experience. You know, I mean, it's just like information sharing. You got to look out for each other. We definitely talk. And I would do the same thing. You know what I mean? Like if I was going on tour and I knew that, you know, Phoenix was just at this studio, I would be like, how was it? You know what I mean? What are the
Yep.
students like? What's their level? Is it warm there? Is it cold there? You know what I mean? Just so you're like prepared. And it's just like that camaraderie, that professional, you know, like looking out for each other for sure. It goes both ways. You know, everybody talks. Everybody talks.
Of that. And then, yeah, I just kind of wonder because I feel there's been a lot of pole drama lately. And I say that. I just because I follow a bunch of different people because I love watching what everybody posts and stuff. And then once in a while in a story, I see like just drama going between people, and they're and I'm like, oh, okay. But right now, what I've seen is like more like people that tour, and then people are like, you shouldn't go to that studio because they did this or that, and then other people are like, blah blah blah. So then I was like, that's very public, but I wonder if there's anything like you said, like in the background, where you could just kind of get a feel without having to like post this to like 50,000 people,
Yeah.
which kind of brings me a little bit in what I would want us to touch up on. It's social media because you started 20 years ago, before the Instagram, before the TikTok, before everybody could know all your business if you wanted to. You have quite a following on social media. Where did that start for you? How did you build your brand online?
Yeah.
Did you purposely put thought behind you building on Instagram, let's say, or did it kind of just organically happen for you one day? You're like, I'll just start posting to
Yeah.
post.
I mean, at first it was just organic because like now we know so much more now, right? About the algorithm and all those things and like how to build a following. Back then, like that wasn't a thing. You just posted or you didn't, you know, and like nothing was going viral. There was no reels, you know what I mean? It was just like word of mouth and following and following and following. So, when I started Instagram, I think it was like also 2012, right? Like, yeah, I think that's when I first started my first post, whatever. Um, I just posted what I don't know. I never really thought too much about it. I just posted what I wanted to post. Um, I did have somebody sit me down in LA, Lindsay, Lindsay Kimura, who used to work for Xpol. Love her so much. And she was like, you need to post more. And I was like, I don't want to. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to be that person. It felt at the time, it felt so self-aggrandizing. And I don't know. I just was like, ooh. I had this, I don't know. I just didn't want, I was like, why would I post? Who cares? Who cares about me that much? And she was like, Michelle, people do. And I was like, really? She was like, yes. They want to learn about you. They want to know about you. They want to see your pole movement. They want to see your life. They want to know you. And I was like, really? And she was like, yes. Yes. And I was like, okay. So I needed somebody to kind of like smack me around a little bit and be like, just do it. Just go for it. Just post. And I was like, all right, I'm going to post. And then, of course, my mom was like, stop posting. Stop posting yourself in your underwear. You're never going to get a job again. And I didn't listen to her, thank God. So I don't know, it just happened organically. And I think just people were hungry for content back then, content like flows, so you'd post a flow and like people would save it and then share it and then you'd get more followers, and you'd go to do a workshop and then you'd get like 30 to 50 more followers after your workshop because everybody wants to like follow you more and more and more and more. So it just kind of happened organically that way, just through meeting people in real life, and then people sharing your content on social media. And the best way back then to get more followers was when other people shared your stuff. I remember once like Marion Crump shared some post that I did, and I think I got like 500 new followers because like she had like such a bigger following, so if she reposted something that I did, everyone would start following me. And like, so we all kind of did that for each other back then too. And she's a fairy. Like she's just a magical fairy of pole dancing. And like I pay attention to what she posts and shares, and with a few other people too, I'm like, whatever they're posting and resharing must be really good. So like,
We have Marian on the podcast, and when people listen to your episode, she'll probably be like 2 or 3 guests before this episode comes. Anyways, give her a follow. If you're listening to this, if you're watching Michelle and I today, she was so lovely, so nice to talk to. I'm also like, I follow her, obviously. Mesmerizing. Love her. Mesmerizing. Please give her.
magical. Yes, please follow her. So just like, it just happened that way. And now, yes, I mean, like, I'm like a zero fuck giver. You know what I mean? Truly. Like, I will post whatever I want to post. Like, I do not listen to the people like, just post one thing and one thing only, and that's how you build your brand. I'm like, I get it. I 100% get it. And I see how that works. But I'm like, I'm just going to post whatever I want to post whenever I want to. I don't care. I'm not going to make a different profile for my poll stuff and a different profile for like Michelle Stanek, normal person. Like it's just all one. But I do try, you know what I mean? Like I do try to like listen to trending audio. If I like it, I'll use it. I'll look at cute reels that I can like recreate that I think are fun, and like I just recreate it for fun. Like it brings me joy. Social media is actually fun for me. I don't get bogged down by it. I don't get stressed by it. I don't let it trigger me. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I have fun on social media. I really do. I have fun on social media. And I definitely use it to promote whatever I'm promoting and hope that it works. And I could be better. I could have more followers. I could post more. My content could be lovelier, but I do try, but I wish I had a social media manager. I feel like that is something I wish I had.
All right, Michelle. I love talking to you. This was interesting. And this took a different turn than I thought because I'm lifting the curtain a little bit. People that are listening and viewing, I send guests like a list of tentative questions. And then I tell them, like, we'll start chatting and we'll bring this to whatever we bring it. This really took a different direction and I loved it. And I feel like this is the first time we go so in depth with somebody who does workshops and like just like things that can happen on the road. And so thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
But because you're a busy person, I'm not going to keep you here for like 24 hours. I want to bring it to the last segment that we call the last grip. These are just like fun, quick questions to end the episode on a like fun, positive note. Are you ready, Michelle, for the last grip?
Hit me.
All right. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Favorite song to dance to right now?
Okay, so I'm preparing for a performance in Canada coming up, and it's a classical piece, The Carnival of the Animals by Yo-Yo Ma. Ugh, oh, the strings. That's it. I'm like really into dancing to classical right now, or anything by like Teddy Swims. Teddy Swims is like really, really hitting it hard right now for me.
Yeah. Most loved pole outfit or pole accessory?
God. I have this, I call it my magical dancing dress. It's a white dress. I've worn it several times in not competitions, performances, and like it's just magical. Like whenever I put this white dress on and dance around, it's just like it's magical.
I love it. Heels or barefoot?
Bare feet.
One word to describe your relationship with pole.
Magical.
Spin or static?
Benny.
Choreo or tricks?
Choreo.
Morning practice or evening practice?
Morning.
There's not a lot of people that answer morning. If
I
somebody answers tea or morning, I'm like, you're standing out because
I know.
everybody answers coffee and evening.
I mean, I wish I could, but like ever since becoming a mom, I'm like, I literally get up at 5:30 in the morning and I love it. I have no idea who I am anymore. I'm like, who is this person? But like, I love it. I love the mornings. I got so much energy in the morning.
That's fair. Love or hate of conditioning?
Love.
Can you tell us two or three people that you really enjoy following that we should give a follow to, people that you just kind of enjoy?
Um, well, we talked about Marianne, who I definitely think is a magical fairy and everyone should follow her. I really am a big fan of Crystal Belcher. I think she's an amazing artist, pole dancer, person, teacher. Um, I also really love Stephen Retchless. He doesn't so much do pole much anymore, but he is one of my favorite pole dancers of all time and a very good friend of mine. We lived in New York together for a while, but now he does like he's a Britney Spears impersonator and has his own show in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And just please give him a follow. Stephen Retchless. You won't be
Check them
sorry.
out, people. Can you tell us your nemesis move or now I've done the podcast a little bit. Nemesis move or family of move,
Yeah.
we will accept.
I love that. That's funny. My nemesis move is the Gennaro. I will say that. I just fucking can't do it. I can do it. I can do it, but it is extremely uncomfortable and I don't like it, but I also feel like I'm still doing it wrong. But that's my nemesis move. It's been that way for a while. I was like really committed to learning it and doing it and putting it into like all of my routines. And I started training for it and doing it. And I was like, oh, nope, I hate it. My body does not like it. So that move is like out for me. But my shoulders are really tight. You know what I mean? So like any kind of like, you know what I'm saying? This kind of those
Saying.
things. I'm just like, nope, pass. Pass. Next.
You know what I laugh sometimes because I teach where I go like that's what I say. I'm not an amazing like polar, so I go to like I come to my studio and I take classes with other teachers that are way better than I am, and they teach stuff sometimes, and I'm like, you know what? Not only do I not have it, I also don't want it. I don't want to put in the work that's going to be required. I'm like, Rainbow Machinko?
Oh,
No,
no, thank you.
no, I don't, no. I don't even want to try. I don't want to have to start doing more flex to be able to have the range of motion for it. I'm like, hard pass. You crazy kids go ahead. I am going to stay here.
Exactly.
And then to finish it off on a really good note, can you tell us your favorite move or favorite family of move?
You know, I will always answer this with like the jade split. I feel like I could, that's, it's at this point, it's like my resting pose, right? Like I feel like I've done literally maybe a million jades in my lifetime. And I'm like, it's if I need a breather, but I still want to look kind of impressive, bam. Get on the spinny pole, hold the jade, breathe, catch my breath, point my toes, move on.
I love that. I love you. Like, I'm giving it to you people right now, but I'm also just resting here for a minute before I have to do more.
Yeah.
All right. And that's all for us today. Michelle, thank you so much for being on. It was such a good conversation. I hope our viewers and our listeners enjoyed it as much as I did. I will put Michelle's information in the caption down below. Make sure you give her a follow. And thank you so much for being on.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. This was so fun. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Between the Poles. If you love this episode, be sure to hit follow and leave us a review. It helps more pole lovers find the show. And for exclusive bonus content, behind-the-scene footage, and extra pole goodness, follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, stay strong, stay connected, and keep spinning your story. This was Between the Poles.